Hello YouTube, welcome back. Let's take a look at some sample homework questions from the homework page, 8-29 on arithmetic sequences today. Alright, so take a look at, say, number 30. Let's see, what's number 30 on page 8? It's actually 830, but the homework starts on page 829. Let's say that's number 30. It says the fifth term of an arithmetic sequence is 30. And, no, I'm reading the wrong question. Is negative 2. And the 13th term is 30. And it's saying that this is arithmetic. Right? Okay. Can you, what are they asking for? Can you find the first term and the common difference, and then give a formula? Okay. So, let's see. Well, we figured out in class that if you do, how does it go? The common difference, let's call it D, times N, plus the first term, let's say A, that's how we can write any arithmetic sequence if you start with N equals 0. Because if you start with N equals 0, A is the first term, right? So if you start with 0, be careful though. Remember the Caliph of Baghdad problem. If we're going from day 1 to day 30, that's 30 days, right? But if we start with N equals 0 and go to N equals 29, that's also 30. So if I'm starting at 0, the fifth term is not A sub 5, it's A sub 4. And the 13th term is not A sub 13, it's A sub 12. So that A sub 0 is the first term, what they're calling A. And this is 30. So, can we figure out the first term? Can we figure out the common difference? Well, the common difference, remember, is a slope, because this is sort of like y equals mx plus b, so the common difference is like the slope m, and the a is like the y-intercept when n equals 0, right? So what does that mean? The 4 and the 12 are inputs. The n's are inputs. They're like the x values. And the a sub n values, they're the opposites. They're like the y values, right? So, in other words, can you do the slope? What is the slope? The common difference, or the slope, is delta y, 30 minus negative 2, over, or I should say delta a, over delta x, in other words, delta n, which is 12 minus 4. So that's 32 over 8 is 4. So the common difference is 4. So now I know the rule is 4n plus something. All right. So what does that mean? Well, a sub 4 is negative 2, but that means that's 4 times 4 plus a. I'm running out of room here. Watch out. Get rid of that. So I'm going to say if a sub 4 is negative 2, right? That means plug in 4 in here. That's 4 times 4 plus a. So negative 2 is 16 plus a. So a is negative 18. If you subtract 16 from both sides. And it doesn't matter if we used a sub 12. If a sub 12 is 30, let's say we don't know a yet, so we plug in 12 over here, right? You get 4 times 12 plus a. Well, that means 30 equals 48 plus a. If you want to get rid of the 48, you subtract it from the 30, you still get negative 18. So what's the final answer? The general term of this sequence is 4n minus 18. If n starts at 0. So if you plug in n equals 0, negative 18 is the first term. If you plug in n equals 4, you're going to get the negative 2. 4 times 4 is 16, minus 18 is negative 2. If you plug in the 12, you're going to have 4 times 12 is 48, minus 18 is 30. So that's it. So there's the first term, there's the common difference, and there's the general term. That's what they wanted. Done. All right, let's take a look at a word problem. In page 829, number 52, it says you're building a staircase out of bricks. The first step has 100 bricks. The next step has 2 less. The next step has 2 less. Can you figure out how many bricks in the last step, if you want 30 bricks in this fancy marble staircase, and how many bricks you need to build this whole project? Okay, so what do we got? We have a sub n is this sequence. It's 100, 98, 96, How many bricks in the last step? Well, let's see. Can we write this in general? Let's see. We're going to say it's going to be the common difference times n plus the first step, right? The first value. And so what is the first value? In this case, we're doing 100, right? So isn't the common difference 100? 98 minus 100 is negative 2. 96 minus 98 is negative 2. So I'm going to say negative 2n plus 100, or if you like 100 minus 2n, right? So if we plug in n equals 0, you get 100. If you plug in n equals 1, you get 98. If you plug in n equals 2, you get 96. What do you plug in to get the 30th step? Remember, we're counting from n equals 0. We're not going from 1 to 30 is 30 steps. We're going from n equals 0 to n equals 29. So what is a sub 29 is the question. It's negative 2 times 29 plus 100, which is negative 58, plus 100 is 42. So this last step has 42 bricks in it. All right, so we've answered two parts of the question already. What's the general term of the sequence? We were given the sequence. There it is. How many bricks in the first step where n equals 0? How many steps in the 30th step where n equals 29? And now, how many bricks do you have to go buy at Home Depot? Well, remember, how do you add up an arithmetic sequence like this? How do you add up 100, 98, 96, all the way down to 42, if this is an arithmetic sequence with a common difference of negative 2? Well, remember, you average the first and the last term times how many? Well, what is the average of 142? Well, 100 plus 42 is 142 divided by 2. This is your sum, right? Is 71. And 71 times 30, well, let's see. 1 times 30 is 30, and 7 times 30 is 21. It's 2130. So you need 2130 bricks to do this project. All right, so the 100 bricks on the first step, 42 bricks on the last step. We have 30 bricks. There's your sequence. There's your general term. There's your D. There's your A. There's your sum for 30 steps. We're done. That's it. Okay, good. All right, one more like that. 53. Page 829, number 53 says, all right, slightly different. It says you're building seating at a stadium. So how many rows are in the corner section of a stadium that has 2,040 seats? So we want to sit 2,040 people. If the first row has 10 seats and each successive row has 4 more seats. Okay, so we have 10 seats, then we have 4 more, 14, then we have 4 more, 18, and so forth. The question is, we don't know how many rows of seats we have if this arithmetic sequence has to add up to 2,040 seats. Alrighty, so let's see if we can figure this out. Let's see. If you start with n equals 0, let's say b sub n, what is the common difference? Well, let's see. 14 minus 10 is 4. 18 minus 14 is 4. So it's 4n, d is 4. D, the common difference, is 4. So 4n plus the first term is 10 if you're starting with n equals 0, right? Okay. Now the question is, we want to know how many rows we need, right? So what does that mean? Well, if we start, okay, so what does that mean? The sum is 2,040. So the average of the first and the last. The first and the last. Right? The average of the first and the last. First being 10 when n equals 0. The last being, we don't know yet, because we don't know n. The average of the first and last times how many? It's got to equal that 2,040. Now, wait a minute, is that right? That's not right, because n, the last value of n is 1 less than how many? So this is n minus 1. This is n minus 1. So we're counting from n equals 0 to n equals n, but that's n minus 1 things that had to add up to 2,040. All right, so this is fine. This will work. But it might be easier if you start with n equals 1. One thing you might realize is if you want to start with n equals 1, you just have to go back 1 common difference, subtract 4 from the 10, you get 6. So you could do it that way instead. You could say the first one plus the last one over 2 times how many, now it is n, because we're going from 0 to that, is 2040. So which equation is easier to solve? I don't know. It's up to you. They're both going to work out the same way. How about the second one? So here's, just to be different, here's an example of how you write the general term at n equals 1. All right, it's basically the same d, common difference, and it's the same starting point, but you're starting 1 less behind, because if you plug in 1 now, you get 10. If you plug in 0 now, you get 6. You don't want that, right? Okay, so let's solve this one. All right, so let's go. So we've got, what is it now? 10. All right, what is 10 plus 4n plus 6? It's 4n plus 16. Right? Okay, so that's right. So 4n plus 16 over 2 times n, the number of rows, is 2040. So the question is, how many rows? That's what they want. All right, so how do you solve this? Well, can't you divide 2 into 4n plus 16? Yeah, so what is it? 2n plus 8 times n is 2040. All right, how would we distribute the n? 2n squared plus 8n equals 2040. Oh, it's quadratic. So set it equal to 0, standard form. And factor. Well, can we factor out the 2? Yeah. In fact, we can divide everything by 2. N squared plus 4n minus 10, minus 1020 is equal to 0. Alrighty, and then can we factor that? Let's see. What multiplies to 1020 and adds to negative 1020 and adds to 4? Well, that's a pain. How about we graph this? Just for fun. Let's graph this thing. It's going to take a while to figure out the combinations. I'll use the quadratic formula, right? Yeah, you can do it. But I think this comes out nice. You don't really need the quadratic formula. So let's clear this. Let's clear this. All right. So I'm going to graph x squared plus 4n, or 4x, because I'm in function mode, minus 1020. And see where it hits the x-axis, right? So how about a zoom 4? And we see nothing. All right. How about a zoom? Is it done? Yeah, zoom out from there, from the origin. Let's see if that's any better. Still graphing, still graphing. Nope, nothing. Okay, how about a zoom out from there? Ah, there you go. So there's a negative value and a positive value. Alrighty, so let's find out what that is. So second calc, what is it, 0. And I want the 0 for the positive value. So I'm not going to get a negative n, right? So over here, where y is positive, where y is negative, then the right bound is where y is positive. And then hit enter, you don't have to guess. It's 30. Okay, so this is factorable with x minus 30 and x minus 1, or x plus 1. Let's see. Second calc 0. Let's get closer to this one. Now here the left bound has a y that is positive. Way back on the second quadrant over here. Well, when is y positive? Come on, give me a y that's positive. Oops. Okay, there's the first y that's positive. That's your left bound, enter. And then your first y that's negative, that's your right bound, that's enter, and then don't have to guess. So 34. Aha. All right, so we factored it. Or you could use quadratic formula, or you could do, guess and check, or whatever it is. So apparently n plus 34 times n minus 30 is 0. So n plus 34 is 0. Makes n equal to negative 34. We're going to reject that because we don't want a negative number of seats. Or n minus 30 is 0, so n equals 30 seats. Ta-da! And there you go. Done. All right. So that hopefully that helps you with your homework on page 829, multiples of 5, arithmetic sequences. Okay, bye-bye, YouTube. Have a nice day.